Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, scroll through your phone, and see a post in an online forum. It is not just any random post, but a message claiming to be from the year 2062. The person says they are a time traveler, and they have urgent warnings for the world. Would you dismiss it as nonsense, or would you listen even if just for a moment? What if their predictions started coming true? This is the chilling scenario that unfolded in 2010 on a Japanese internet forum. An anonymous individual, identifying themselves as a time traveler from over 50 years in the future, left a series of mysterious warnings that shook the online community. No one knew what to make of it at first. After all, claims of time travel are often reserved for science fiction. Yet what happened next was far from fiction. It was real, and it left many questioning the boundaries of time and prophecy. But the most unsettling part, the final warning, the one that spoke about 2025, is still waiting to unfold. What does this prophecy mean for our world? What if the events foretold have already started to come to pass? Let us dive into this mystery and try to uncover the truth behind these unsettling predictions. On a seemingly ordinary day in November of 2010, a post appeared on Japan's famous internet forum, 2channel. It was not an ordinary post. It claimed to be a message from a man who had come from the future. His name, unknown. His identity, anonymous. His message, haunting. "I come from the year 2062, the post began. The figure who claimed to be from the future described a world radically different from our own. His mission, not one of curiosity or scientific exploration, but one of necessity to warn humanity about the dire consequences that awaited if we failed to change the course of history. In a sea of internet hoaxes and strange stories, this one seemed no different at first. But it was not the content of the post that caught attention. It was the cryptic message attached at the end. The post concluded with a strange string of symbols, blending Japanese characters with phonetic spellings that seemed like a cipher. For a time, many shrugged it off as another one of the thousands of strange and bizarre internet hoaxes. Time travel was still considered fantasy, and messages like this were often dismissed as nothing more than weird fiction or an attention-seeking stunt. But something about this particular post felt different. A small group of curious individuals began to analyze the message, obsessing over the strange symbols and comparing them to various codes and languages. Slowly, an unofficial translation began to surface, and the message revealed itself. "Run to the mountains." At first glance, it seemed like a bizarre and vague statement. Run to the mountains. What did it mean? And why did it come from someone claiming to be from the future? Those who had paid attention shrugged it off, believing it to be just another mystery without explanation. But 4 months later, in March of 2011, the world would be forced to confront a terrifying reality, one that aligned eerily with the time traveler's warning. On the morning of March 11th, Japan awoke to what seemed like a calm spring day. The sun was shining, the sky was clear, and life went on as usual. But at precisely 2:46 p.m., the earth began to shake. The earthquake that struck the northeastern region of Japan was no ordinary tremor. With a magnitude of over 9.0 on the Richter scale, it was one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. But the devastation did not stop there. The earthquake triggered a massive tsunami, a wave more than 40 meters high that surged inland with incomprehensible power. Entire coastal towns were wiped off the map in a matter of minutes. The devastation was overwhelming. Thousands of lives were lost, entire communities were swept away, and Japan found itself grappling with one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in modern history. As the world watched in horror, something haunting crossed the minds of those who had paid attention to the strange post back in November 2010. The cryptic message, "Run to the mountains," had never seemed more chilling. Though the warning was vague and unclear at the time, the events that followed made it impossible to ignore. Could the time traveler have known about the disaster in advance? Was it mere coincidence? Or something more? Initially, the post had been dismissed as a hoax, a joke, or a prank by someone with too much time on their hands. But as the tragedy of the 2011 earthquake unfolded, people began to revisit the cryptic message. The coincidence between the warning and the catastrophic events shook people to their core. Those who had laughed off the message suddenly found themselves haunted by regret. In the wake of the earthquake, there was a shift in the way people viewed the time traveler's post. What had once been regarded as a silly internet gimmick began to take on a more serious tone. The world watched as Japan's recovery efforts took center stage. But, in the background, a small group of online users started to dig deeper into the mysteries surrounding this anonymous figure from 2062. And just as public curiosity began to grow, something unexpected happened. The time traveler, known now as 2062, returned. In July 2011, just months after the earthquake, 2062 resurfaced on the same forum where he had first made his claims. This time, he did not leave cryptic messages or ciphers. Instead, he addressed the community directly. He spoke briefly, offering an explanation for how he had predicted the earthquake. According to 2062, humanity in the future had developed the technology to travel through time. And he was not simply a traveler looking to explore history. He had a mission. His warnings were not for personal gain, but for the survival of humanity. His goal, to ensure that the events of the future did not unfold in a way that would lead to catastrophe. When asked about the earthquake, 2062's response was cryptic. He did not explain how he knew about it, but promised that more was to come. Larger events, he said, were on the horizon. He did not stay long, disappearing once again into the digital void, but left behind a message that resonated with many. He would return in April of 2016, and when he did, a major event would occur. The world had barely recovered from the 2011 earthquake when 2062 promised to return in April 2016 with more revelations. People who had once dismissed him now waited with bated breath. Could he really see into the future? Was he truly from the year 2062? Or was this just another elaborate hoax? When April 14, 2016 came, the world did not expect much, but 2062 kept his word. A post appeared once again on the familiar 2-channel forum. This time, however, the message was not cryptic, it was direct. On April 14th, a powerful earthquake hit Kumamoto, a city in southern Japan. The earthquake, measuring 7.0 on the Richter scale, caused widespread damage, leaving hundreds injured, destroying infrastructure, and sending aftershocks that rattled the region for days. As people struggled to comprehend the devastation, 2062's return was no longer dismissed as a coincidence. His prior predictions of accurate natural disasters, especially the earthquake, shattered any remaining skepticism. But 2062 was not done. The very next day, on April 15th, he made another appearance. This time, his message was brief but ominous. "I will return on May 17th. It was not just his presence that left people uneasy. It was the fact that he seemed to be consistently predicting disasters just before they occurred. Following 2062's return on April 15th, 2016, the online community became obsessed with his next prediction. As promised, he disappeared again, leaving only a cryptic date, May 17th. But what happened on May 16th, the day before 2062's next predicted appearance, caused even more shock. A 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck Ibaraki Prefecture, located not far from Tokyo. Though this earthquake was smaller than the previous disasters, it was still significant. Once again, the pattern was undeniable. 2062's warnings seemed to coincide with real-world events in ways that defied logic. By now, many were no longer skeptical. People began to believe in 2062's messages, wondering how he could have known about these natural disasters in advance. How could someone, even a so-called time traveler, predict such catastrophic events? Was there more to his story than just being a time traveler from the future? It was not until 2062's next return, when he revealed more details about time travel, that the online community truly began to understand his incredible claims. According to 2062, humanity in the future had mastered time travel. But it was not as simple as stepping into a machine and jumping to any point in history. The process, he explained, was much more complicated. 2 devices were involved. One called the Vicious 5000, designed to move people forward in time, and another called the PlusNec 6290, which allowed travelers to move backward. The catch: these devices were not owned by individuals or even by any government. Instead, they were controlled by a mysterious organization known as the Temporal Management Bureau. This bureau, according to 2062, was tasked with regulating and safeguarding the stability of humanity's entire timeline. But the most intriguing part of this revelation was not the devices themselves. It was the rules that governed time travel. According to 2062, there were strict regulations for time travelers. They were not allowed to interfere with events, change the past, or use future knowledge for personal gain. Violating these rules, he warned, would result in a self-erasure mechanism that would remove the time traveler from the timeline entirely. Imagine that. A traveler, existing outside of time, but unable to change history without consequences. It was a sobering idea, a reminder that time, in 2062's world, was not a fluid and changeable entity, but a self-regulating system with its own built-in mechanisms for order. As 2062 revealed more about the future, his most unsettling prophecy began to take shape. He spoke about a third world war that would break out before the year 2030. Unlike the wars of the past, this one would not be initiated by a single dramatic event, but rather by decades of unresolved tensions. The time traveler did not name the countries involved, but he was clear about one thing: Asia would be the first to burn. These long-standing tensions, he said, would eventually ignite into a conflict that would spread across the globe, touching every continent. What made this war different from all others? According to 2062, the weaponry would not be nuclear bombs, but chemical weapons, a far more devastating force that would leave entire cities uninhabitable and millions of lives destroyed. Japan, in particular, would be in danger of being erased from the map. Cities would fall. Landscapes would be turned to wastelands. Millions would flee, creating an exodus of people desperate to escape the violence and devastation. This warning sent shockwaves through the online community. People were no longer just curious about 2062's predictions. They were terrified. Could such a global conflict really happen? Could humanity be on the brink of a war that would reshape the world as we know it? After several years of predictions, warnings, and cryptic messages, 2062 vanished from the internet once again. But before he disappeared, he left two final coded messages for those who still believed in his words. The first message came in the form of a chilling prophecy. On July 4, 2025, a major earthquake will occur off the coast of Japan. This prediction was eerie in its specificity and closely aligned with an earlier prediction found in a prophetic manga. The possibility of the earthquake becoming a reality began to take shape in the minds of many, sparking anxiety about the future. But there was more. 2062's final warning came in 2024. In that year, he foretold that a major event would unfold, shaking the world to its core. Though we now live in 2025, many still wonder, what was the major event he referred to? Was it the record-breaking heat of 2024, which made it the hottest year in history, or the devastating superstorms that swept through different parts of the world? Perhaps the catastrophic typhoons and hurricanes Yagi in Asia, Milton in the US, and the floods in Afghanistan were the start of the ominous events foretold by 2062. But there is still one question left unanswered. Which disaster was the one he warned about? Or has it yet to come? As we continue to explore the chilling predictions of the so-called time traveler, 2062, one year stands out among the rest: 2025. This year, according to his prophecy, will mark a critical turning point for humanity, a pivotal moment that could define the future of the world. Let us pause for a moment and reflect on the current state of our world. Climate change has accelerated at an unprecedented rate. Natural disasters from wildfires in California to hurricanes in the Gulf Coast are becoming more frequent and more intense. Global tensions are rising, and there is a sense of unease that pervades every corner of society. Could it be that 2025 is indeed the year when everything changes? In his final message, 2062 mentioned the year 2025 as a key moment in history, one that would bring with it a major earthquake and potentially more disasters. But what exactly is he referring to? Is it possible that these predictions align with the challenges we face today? Let us break it down and see what the clues say. 2062's prediction about July 4, 2025, was specific and unsettling. A major earthquake would strike off the coast of Japan. This exact prediction aligned with details found in a prophetic manga had circulated a few years earlier, raising eyebrows and increasing the sense of dread surrounding this prophecy. But is it just a coincidence? Or is there something more to this prediction? In recent years, scientists have raised alarms about the increased seismic activity around the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area notorious for its earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The possibility of a major earthquake off the coast of Japan is not as far-fetched as it once seemed. In fact, experts have been warning, that a megaquake similar to the Tohoku earthquake of 2011 could strike again at any time. With Japan's vulnerability to seismic events, the idea that this earthquake might happen in 2025 seems to be gaining more traction. Could this be the event 2062 predicted, or is there something even more catastrophic on the horizon? Let us take a moment to consider the environmental changes that have been unfolding in recent years. As we entered 2024, the world experienced what was officially deemed the hottest year in recorded history. Temperatures soared to unprecedented levels, affecting crops, wildlife, and human health. The extreme heat in 2024 was accompanied by devastating superstorms that wreaked havoc across various continents. Typhoon Yagi in Asia, Hurricane Milton in the US, and catastrophic floods in Afghanistan were only the beginning. These events seem to fulfill the prophecy that 2062 spoke about, a series of global catastrophes that would lay the groundwork for the major event of 2025. But what is even more chilling is the realization that these natural disasters are not isolated incidents. They are part of a growing pattern. Climate change is making the planet more volatile, and scientists have warned that things are likely to get worse. Could these disasters be the prelude to a much larger, world-shattering event, as 2062 predicted? The intensity of these storms is increasing, and their impact is being felt all over the world. The Pacific has become a breeding ground for some of the most powerful typhoons in history. Typhoon Yagi, which hit Asia in 2024, was one of the most devastating storms in recent years. Packing winds of over 180 miles per hour, it left millions displaced, destroyed infrastructure, and claimed hundreds of lives. Similarly, Hurricane Milton in the United States made landfall with Category 5 winds, causing severe flooding and leaving entire neighborhoods submerged. The aftermath of such superstorms is not just a matter of rebuilding, it is about the long-term survival of affected regions. Entire ecosystems are wiped out, while people are left to deal with the psychological and emotional trauma of losing everything. And then there were the floods in Afghanistan. While the scale of these floods may not have matched the magnitude of the storms in other parts of the world, their impact was no less severe. Entire villages were submerged, and the already fragile infrastructure of the country crumbled under the weight of the disaster. These events, though incredibly tragic, might be the early warning signs of a much greater catastrophe, one that will reach its peak in 2025. The combination of rising global temperatures, extreme weather patterns, and increasing seismic activity creates the perfect storm for a series of catastrophic events that could change the world as we know it. Let us take a step back and analyze the bigger picture. In 2025, we will find ourselves at a crossroads. The warnings from 2062 align with what many experts have been predicting for decades. The planet is on the brink of a global crisis. Whether it is the climate crisis, geopolitical tensions, or natural disasters, the world is facing a series of challenges that will demand our attention and action. What makes 2025 particularly significant is the interconnectedness of these challenges. The natural disasters we are seeing are not isolated events. They are part of a larger pattern of global instability. The earthquake in Japan, the superstorms, and the climate crisis are all symptoms of a much deeper problem. The question we must ask ourselves is, what will we do to address these challenges? Will humanity rise to the occasion? Or will we continue down a path of inaction and denial? 2062's warnings may be unsettling, but they also present an opportunity for us to change course before it is too late. Aside from the environmental challenges we face, 2062 also warned of rising geopolitical tensions, especially in Asia. He predicted that the Third World War would break out before the year 2030, ignited by long-standing conflicts between two unnamed Asian nations. While these countries remain unidentified, the possibility of such a war occurring is increasingly likely. Tensions between China, India, and North Korea are reaching new heights. The rivalry between these nations has been brewing for decades, and the potential for conflict is high. Coupled with the competition for resources, military posturing, and territorial disputes, it is not hard to see how the situation could spiral into something far more dangerous. What makes this war so unique is the weaponry involved. According to 2062, the conflict will not be fought with nuclear weapons, as many might expect. Instead, the major powers will deploy chemical weapons, a far more devastating and deadly tool of war. While nuclear bombs have the potential to annihilate entire cities, chemical weapons can cause slow, agonizing deaths, destroying cities and leaving landscapes uninhabitable for generations. As we approach 2025, we are faced with a sobering reality. The world is in crisis. The predictions of 2062, though chilling, are not as far-fetched as they once seemed. The planet is warming at an alarming rate, natural disasters are becoming more frequent and intense, and global tensions are rising. The final question we must ask is 2025 the year when everything changes? Is it the year that will define the future of humanity? Or will it be the beginning of the end? What we do between now and then will determine the future of our planet. Will we heed the warnings? Or will we ignore them until it is too late, as we approach 2025? The looming predictions of 2062 seem increasingly relevant. The potential for massive natural disasters, geopolitical tensions, and unprecedented societal shifts are real threats we must face. But what can we, as individuals and as a global community, do to prepare for what is to come? We live in a world marked by uncertainty. And while some may dismiss the warnings of a time traveler, the signs of impending crises are all around us. The question is no longer whether these events will happen, but how we will respond. Can we learn from the past, anticipate the future, and make decisions that will protect us from the worst outcomes? Let us explore the key ways we can prepare for the challenges ahead, starting with the climate crisis and the natural disasters that 2062 foresaw. The climate crisis is one of the most pressing issues humanity faces. The year 2024 was officially recorded as the hottest year in history, and the trend is only expected to worsen. From extreme heat waves to wildfires, droughts, and floods, the impact of climate change is undeniable. But what is even more concerning is how these climate-induced disasters are interconnected. When one part of the world experiences extreme weather, it often triggers a chain reaction. Droughts in one region lead to famine, which in turn leads to migration and political instability. Rising sea levels threaten coastal cities, and wildfires devastate entire ecosystems, creating further imbalances in nature. So what can we do to prepare for the inevitable? The answer lies in adaptation and resilience. 1. Building resilient infrastructure. As the frequency and intensity of natural disasters increase, we must rethink how we build our cities and infrastructure. Cities vulnerable to flooding, earthquakes, and wildfires must implement sustainable and disaster-resistant designs. From hurricane-proof buildings to earthquake-resistant foundations, our infrastructure must evolve to withstand the impacts of a changing climate. 2. Early warning systems. Early detection of natural disasters is crucial. With improved technology, scientists can predict hurricanes, tsunamis, and earthquakes with increasing accuracy. Governments must invest in better early warning systems and ensure that emergency response teams are ready to act quickly when disaster strikes. In places like Japan, where earthquakes are common, quake-resistant buildings and tsunami evacuation plans can save lives. 3. Promoting sustainable agriculture. As climate change disrupts weather patterns, agriculture will be severely impacted. Droughts will become more frequent, and crops may fail. To prepare for this, we must promote sustainable agricultural practices that are resilient to extreme weather. This includes planting drought-resistant crops, implementing efficient irrigation systems, and supporting local food systems to reduce dependence on global supply chains. 4. Reducing carbon emissions. One of the most critical actions we can take to mitigate the effects of climate change is reducing our carbon footprint. By transitioning to renewable energy, cutting down on deforestation, and implementing green technologies, we can reduce the impact of human activity on the environment. But the truth is, no matter how much we prepare, climate change is here to stay. The best we can do is adapt and make the necessary changes to ensure our survival and that of the planet. While the natural world presents many challenges, the geopolitical landscape is equally fraught with uncertainty. 2062's predictions of rising tensions in Asia and the possibility of a third world war are troubling. Nations are vying for resources, military power, and influence, and the potential for conflict is growing. But is war inevitable? Not necessarily. The key to preventing large-scale conflict lies in diplomacy and conflict resolution. 1. Fostering diplomacy and dialogue. As tensions rise between nations, open communication and peaceful negotiations become paramount. The world's leaders must prioritize diplomacy over aggression and focus on finding common ground. Whether it is through international summits, treaties, or peacekeeping efforts, The ability to resolve conflicts peacefully is more critical than ever. 2. Reducing military escalation. In an era of nuclear proliferation and chemical warfare, the stakes have never been higher. Arms reduction agreements, such as the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons (NPT), are essential to preventing the spread of dangerous weaponry. Governments must prioritize reducing military escalation and focus on disarmament as a way to de-escalate conflicts. 3. Addressing resource scarcity. Many geopolitical conflicts are driven by competition over resources, particularly oil, water, and rare minerals. As the global population grows and resources become scarcer, the likelihood of resource-based conflicts increases. Sustainable resource management, recycling, and alternative energy sources must become a global priority to prevent future conflicts over basic necessities. 4. Strengthening global cooperation. While conflicts are inevitable in a world with competing interests, we must also recognize the importance of global cooperation. Organizations like the United Nations and the World Trade Organization (WTO) play an essential role in promoting international peace and stability. Strengthening these institutions and creating new frameworks for global cooperation is crucial to preventing the kinds of wars predicted by 2062. By focusing on diplomacy, conflict resolution, and global cooperation, we can reduce the risk of large-scale wars and create a more peaceful world. While global actions are essential, the most immediate and practical way to prepare for the future is by taking action on a personal level. Here are some ways you can get ready for the uncertainties ahead. 1. Emergency preparedness. Whether it is a natural disaster or a geopolitical crisis, it is important to have an emergency plan in place. Stock up on supplies such as food, water, and first aid kits, and have an evacuation plan ready. Community preparedness is key, so engage with your neighbors and local emergency services to stay informed. 2. Financial preparedness. In times of crisis, financial stability can make a significant difference. Consider diversifying your investments, creating an emergency savings fund, and reducing personal debt. The more financially secure you are, the better you will be able to weather the storm, whether it is an economic downturn, natural disaster, or geopolitical conflict. 3. Sustainable living. By adopting sustainable practices, such as using renewable energy sources, reducing waste, and growing your own food, you can reduce your carbon footprint and make your home more resilient to environmental shocks. 4. Education and awareness. The more informed you are about the challenges ahead, the better equipped you will be to face them. Stay up to date on issues like climate change, international relations, and global economics. Awareness is the first step toward effective action. As we move closer to 2025, the predictions of 2062 may continue to linger in our minds, but they should not be a source of fear. Instead, they should serve as a wake-up call, an opportunity for us to change the trajectory of our future. The challenges ahead are immense, but they are not insurmountable. By taking action today, both individually and as a global community, we can mitigate the worst of these threats and create a more sustainable, peaceful world. The future is not set in stone. We can still shape it if we act with urgency, wisdom, and collaboration. Let 2025 be the year that marks the beginning of a new era, one in which humanity rises to the occasion, adapts to the changing world, and creates a future we can be proud of. As we move further into the 2020s, the future seems more uncertain than ever before. We stand at a crossroads, one that could lead us to a new age of enlightenment, or one that plunges us into darkness. The warnings from 2062 are not just predictions of future calamities, but rather stark reminders that we need to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Throughout this journey, we have explored the time traveler's warnings, his predictions about global disasters, climate change, and the threat of war. But the question remains, what can we do with the knowledge we have gained? How can we take control of our destiny in a world that often feels out of our hands? Now, as we reflect on these lessons, it is important to focus not just on the threats we face, but on the opportunities that lie ahead. The future is not just something that happens to us. We have the power to shape it. One of the key takeaways from the mysterious prophecies of 2062 is the idea that our choices matter. Whether it is how we respond to climate change, the decisions we make as nations, or the actions we take on a personal level, we are not powerless. There is always room for hope. Yes, the challenges ahead are immense, but they also provide us with an opportunity to create a better future. Collective action, when taken seriously and with urgency, has the power to alter the course of our destiny. Whether it is through fighting climate change, pursuing peaceful diplomacy, or strengthening our communities, we can make a meaningful difference. Each individual has the ability to choose how they respond to uncertainty. While it is easy to fall into despair, it is crucial to remember that our strength lies in our ability to adapt. In times of crisis, we have witnessed incredible resilience. Whether it is communities coming together in the wake of a natural disaster, or nations cooperating to combat global challenges, resilience is the key to survival, and it starts with us. While individual actions are essential, we must also consider the larger role of society as a whole. The global community is more interconnected than ever before. What happens in one part of the world often has ripple effects that spread far beyond national borders. As we face the threats predicted by 2062, it is clear that we cannot navigate these challenges alone. This brings us to the concept of global cooperation. The world's nations must come together to address the interconnected crises that threaten our shared future. Whether it is tackling climate change, preventing war, or preventing pandemics, no one country can solve these problems in isolation. We must act collectively, using our combined resources and expertise to build a more resilient world. Global cooperation means transcending national interests and focusing on our common humanity. It means investing in international institutions that can mediate conflicts and promote peace. It means working together to create sustainable solutions that address the root causes of environmental degradation and social inequality. Only through unity can we hope to create a world that can withstand the challenges of the future. One of the most pressing issues we face is our relationship with the environment. Our planet is facing unprecedented levels of climate change, and the clock is ticking. If 2062's prophecies are to be believed, the years leading up to 2025 will see an acceleration of natural disasters that will challenge us in ways we can't yet fully comprehend. But we must not succumb to hopelessness. We can still mitigate the damage and adapt to the changing environment. The key to this lies in adopting sustainable practices and rethinking how we interact with the natural world. For example, we can transition to renewable energy sources like solar and wind power, which reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. We can create more sustainable urban designs that reduce waste and energy consumption. We can protect ecosystems and wildlife habitats, ensuring that nature continues to thrive even as we face unprecedented challenges. Ultimately, we need to develop a new ecological consciousness, one that understands the importance of preserving the planet, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Nature is our greatest ally in the battle for survival, and we must treat it with the respect it deserves. While the future may seem uncertain, we must also recognize the incredible power of technology to help us navigate these challenges. Technology is not only the driving force behind much of the environmental destruction we have seen, but it can also be part of the solution. Innovation will be crucial in helping us solve the problems predicted by 2062. Take, for example, renewable energy technologies. Solar panels, wind turbines, and geothermal energy systems are already helping to reduce carbon emissions and provide cleaner alternatives to fossil fuels. Similarly, electric vehicles are becoming more mainstream, reducing our reliance on gas and oil. These technologies are just the beginning. Imagine a future where we can capture, store carbon directly from the air, or develop artificial intelligence that helps us predict and manage natural disasters more effectively. In addition to environmental technologies, we must also consider technological innovations in the realm of health and medicine. In a world increasingly threatened by natural disasters, pandemics, and geopolitical instability, we need to strengthen our healthcare systems and develop new treatments and vaccines that can mitigate the impact of future crises. Ultimately, the role of technology is to empower humanity. By embracing innovation and harnessing the power of technology, we can not only survive the coming challenges but thrive in a world that is constantly evolving. While global cooperation and technological advancements are essential, we must also remember that change often begins at the grassroots level. The most powerful movements in history have been those led by ordinary people, individuals who believed they could make a difference and took action. In today's world, grassroots movements have the power to shape public opinion, influence policy, and mobilize communities. Whether it is fighting for climate justice, human rights, or economic equality, collective action can create real change. It starts with raising awareness, mobilizing communities, and demanding action from leaders. Consider the climate strikes led by young people around the world. In just a few short years, these movements have sparked a global conversation about the urgency of climate change. Similarly, grassroots organizations have been at the forefront of pushing for clean energy policies, social justice reforms, and environmental protections. Grassroots activism is not just about raising awareness. It is about demanding accountability and working together to bring about a future that is sustainable, equitable, and just for all. As we conclude this journey into the mysterious prophecies of 2062, one thing is clear: the future is full of uncertainty, but it is also full of possibilities. The challenges we face are real, and the road ahead may be difficult. But we must never lose sight of the fact that we have the power to shape our future. The prophecies of 2062 may seem terrifying, but they should not paralyze us with fear. Instead, they should serve as a reminder that we are capable of overcoming adversity, whether it is through resilience, innovation, or global cooperation. We have the tools we need to navigate the challenges of the future and build a world that we can be proud of. In the face of uncertainty, the greatest power we have is our collective will. By acting with courage, hope, and determination, we can create a future that is not just about survival, but about thriving. So let us face the future together, knowing that no matter how difficult the road may be, we have the strength to walk it and the power to shape it.